Today's daily number, 7.9%. 7.9% is what was reported today for inflation in February. So we've seen prices go up 7.9%. So that's going to be a really hard pill to swallow as we keep going along and we keep seeing prices increase. But we'll talk more about that as we get going. All right, everybody. You know my name, Kamari Ellis, the Finance Rebel. I'm a tax accountant. I handle tax questions and problems daily, right? I'm a former portfolio manager, recovering financial advisor. This show, this channel is all about money, taxes, stocks, business, economics. If it's about money, it's on the table. And so today we're going to talk about a couple of things as we always do in our daily show, right? We're always going to do our market rundown. Sadly, we have to continue to keep talking about Russia and Ukraine and the whole crisis over there. But key story today, inflation. We'll come back and we'll talk about that some more. We're going to talk about why this tax season is so frustrating as well. I know I am terribly frustrated with it, so we'll definitely talk about that also. And we're going to also talk about Rihanna, the queen, might have prospects of taking her brand Fenty public for several billions of dollars. So, all right, before we get into everything, let's run into our market rundown and get everything situated, and then we'll jump into Russia crisis. So let me share my screens so we can get to it. So as always, the markets today were very, very interesting. Okay, my stuff. Oh, there we go. All right, my tech wasn't working with me too much, but markets today, S&P 500 closed at $4,233. Now, the market ran up today, but these prices that they're showing me right now are the aftermarket numbers. So I'll have to go back and get those because I was a little delayed getting on today because I was dealing with clients. But market ran today. Let me see if I can find that number. But what I know is right now, market's still down 11%. So I'll come back and talk about that number later on today. Market's down year to date 11.1%. But we did have a big bounce today because we had a big fall yesterday. All right, oil 106. So oil's down to 106. We're not looking at that 120-ish number anymore. So we've seen a little bit of bounce back, fall back from yesterday and the day before, okay? Oil, though, is still up 40% year to date. So it's still up there. And as we see those inflation numbers be reported for last month, it's impacting a lot of different things. Gold, still at that 2,000 level. So that tells you that investors are still a little scary, still a little trepidatious, and are being a little leery about putting their money to work in riskier assets. So they're putting their money in gold, keeping it parked there in gold. Gold's still up year to date 9%, still up 9%. So there's a whole lot going on in the market, as everybody knows, especially with Russia and Ukraine. Don't have a whole lot to report on Russia and Ukraine today. Russia's still bombing hospitals. Ceasefire talks have broken down. So that still hasn't happened. It seems like Russia is still pushing forward to take over some of the key port cities in Ukraine as well. But again, a whole bunch of craziness. And the United States is looking to potentially enact more economic sanctions against Russia. So that's what I have today for the Ukraine-Russia update. Now, main story tonight, inflation, 7.9% inflation. 4 decades. It hasn't been this high in 4 decades. When I was a little boy in the 80s, that's when inflation was at its highest. And it's been back to see that, and it's going even more crazy now these days. So inflation, 7.9% in February. Consumer prices are the highest they've been in 40 years. But what is consumer prices, right? Because inflation is tied into, or inflation is kind of the loose slang for what the consumer price index stands for, right? Consumer price index, what is it, right? It's basically a basket of goods and services that you would buy if you're going to the supermarket in any of the regions here in the United States. So they kind of take a survey of what typical goods and services are every month in multiple regions in the United States. They add them all together, average them out, and that's how they get these numbers, right? But to kind of give you a better story, right? Again, inflation is up 7.9%. Let's just say 8% for the month. Just think about this, right? A young lady, a young single mother, 2 kids, heading out to the supermarket. One baby's in the stroller, one baby's walking, right? They're, let's say, 2 and 3 years old. Woman makes average salary, $35,000 a year for a Black single female. Going shopping, taking her kids with her as they push down the aisle, they get all their groceries, they get everything up. Kids always like to grab stuff off the shelves. You always got to say, no, put that back, or no, don't touch that. Or sometimes you got to have to talk with them before you go to the store, right? But sister goes to the store, buys all her stuff. Now, last month, she spent $100 on these groceries. This month, in February, she spent $108. So in January, she spent $100. In February, she spent $108. Now, that's just a rough, simple math example right there. But just imagine what happens if that keeps going up month over month over month. Can get a little bit crazy. Can definitely get a little bit crazy. But you have to think about that. And there's a couple things here I want to talk about this article that the Wall Street Journal had put up as well. Now, again, talking about inflation, it's not cut and dry, and it's not a black and white thing, right? So usually when you report inflation, it's reported X, right? Excluding energy and food. But lately they've been talking about energy and food because why? Because they all been up, right? Oil's been up, wheat's been up, corn's been up, so they have been in focus. And so here, I thought this was interesting, right? The Consumer Price Index, which measures the cost of goods and services across the economy, hasn't been this high since when it was at 8.4% in January of 1982, when the nation was in a recession and trying to tame what had been double-digit inflation. Higher energy prices, including gasoline prices, helped push the inflation reading along with cost gains from groceries, restaurants, food, transportation, services, and apparel. The Labor Department says. Now, again, I'm glad he brought up the Labor Department because the Labor Department is the one that keeps track of inflation. Now, again, I thought this was really interesting. I hope everybody can see this. Let me blow this up just a little bit more. And let me make the screen a little bit bigger. Oops, that's not working. All right, that's not working. All right, let's go here. Okay, there we go. All right, so strong demand for goods from consumers and supply chain constraints. Now, y'all know I've been talking about inflation, talking about supply chain constraints. Now, for a long time, I didn't think it was going to get this bad, but about 6 months ago, I kind of changed my tune and I said, hey, the Fed hasn't been working up to snuff. So again, getting back to the article, it says supply chain constraints related to the COVID-19 pandemic have elevated inflation over the past year, with persistent shipping bottlenecks and shortages of supplies like semiconductors rippling across the economy. A historically tight labor market also has pushed wages higher and led to more open jobs than there are workers looking for work, leaving businesses struggling to keep up with demand. And so we all know, we're all calling that kind of like the Great Recession, because people don't want to work right now. No matter how much they're getting paid, it still seems like there is a labor shortage on the market there. And again, inflation is going to continue to be an issue with everything that's going on with Russia and Ukraine, all right? And so as we get back to this, let's talk a little bit about tax season, right? That's a fun subject. That's a subject everybody loves to talk about, but it is tax season, so I figured why not now? So CNN reports why this tax season is extra frustrating. Now, I got to warn you, I'm a little biased because they interviewed my homegirl, my tax sister, Ty Gaines from Texas in this interview. and she was spot on. But it says, why this tax season is extra frustrating. Now, I've also done a series of videos covering tax season updates. It's probably time I do a whole nother update, but nothing has really changed since the beginning when I said we're all effed, right? I actually said some stuff a little bit more explicit, but I don't feel like running the monitor to bleep myself out today. Right. But in a nutshell, tax season is still a problem because the IRS don't have enough people working and they don't have enough money to even hire people. And they are trying to hire people, but from what I'm hearing from some of my sources in the IRS, they're having a hard time keeping people on staff. So this is very, very rough. Now, this first line here really sums it up really well. Confusion, amnesia, new paperwork, and delays getting through to the IRS. That sums up this tax season perfectly. And it's all a ball of headaches. All right, so there's some of the top pandemic induced frustrations making this tax filing season, both from tax preparers and their clients. I want y'all to pay attention to the highlighted part. Here, let me blow up this screen, because this is a survey taken by the National Association of Tax Professionals, NATP. So a recent survey by the National Association of Tax Professionals found that only 4% of tax preparers think that taxpayers are knowledgeable about the tax law changes, which means longer conversations with their clients and chasing down documents needed to file tax returns. Now, I've talked about this ad nauseum, right? We got a lot of different things. Advanced child care tax credit, third stimulus last year. You want to make sure you have all those things, all that paperwork, all the documentation, so you can report it correctly on your tax return. Here's what happened if you don't report it correctly, because some people think you just guess at it. You can just pick any random number, like The Price is Right, and just throw it on the tax forms. Well, when you do that, your returns oftentimes get flagged because they're inaccurate, because the system already knows what you got. And then when you report something that's different than what they got, they have to do what's called a manual process, right? It automatically flags it. It has to be manually processed. Thus, why we have such a backlog of tax returns, plus COVID, right? Don't forget about COVID, the big C, and backing up all of these issues. All right. So don't forget about that part, y'all. Don't forget about that part. All right. Stimulus payments create a paper chase, right? I highlighted this as well. The IRS recently mailed letters to taxpayers that report how much a filer received in the third round of stimulus payments, which the agency started sending out in March 2021. Keep that in mind, y'all. Absolutely no one remembers getting it, said tax-based enrolled agent Tanisha Gaines. And that's my homegirl. Don't forget I told y'all that. But she's right. She's so right. I've asked several of my clients, what did you get for your third stimulus? They say, I didn't get one. I had several people last week tell me they didn't get it. And then this week started sending me the letters that they got in the mail that they just got received from the IRS. So I find it interesting that people don't know how much money is coming and or going out of their account. They have no clue where the money is, where the money is flowing. They have no idea where the money resides, y'all. All right, so I want to keep showing y'all this. And by it, Gaines doesn't just mean letter, but the actual payment itself. She attributes it to the stress of the past 2 years. People have blocked out 2020 and 2021. Even though many don't recall it, her clients who were eligible had gotten both the payment and the letter, Gaines said. But she only can establish that after sending her clients on a treasure hunt if they lost their letter. Because a lot of people don't pay attention to the mail, y'all. All right, if they lost their letters, she tells them to use the IRS portal to retrieve information on their stimulus payments. For some, that process has proven too difficult. It's difficult because a lot of people don't have the credentials they need to log in and create the account in the first place. But that's a whole other thing. So she then asked them to comb through their bank records, right? So if they can get the information in the IRS portal, she then asked them to go through their bank records, figure out how much they got, and then report it to her so she can report their tax returns properly. Again, a lot of people are really clueless about this. They don't realize how important it is. And, sometimes people get a little bit frustrated, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in the article. Here it says providing proof of actual payment and reporting the exact dollar amount is critical if the taxpayer doesn't want the IRS system to flag their return for a discrepancy, which could delay them getting their refund for weeks or months, in some case years. All right. So other thing I talked about it a little bit at the top was reconciling the child tax payments is even more frustrating, right? So you have to see what you got, report it, make sure jobs, again, so it doesn't add layers of frustration. All right. So here's the last one. Reaching IRS takes an extra long time. Yes, it does. I call the IRS often. It's not unusual for me, folks, for me to be on the line with the IRS for over 2 hours. And I have a secret back line to call. Now, sometimes I can get through in 5 minutes. Sometimes, though, it can be a little bit longer. Now, ironically, I had to call with a client yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we were scheduled to call at about 11 o'clock. She called at 7. It's always better to call early, if possible. She called at 7. She had to wait 2 hours. We called at 11. I got it through in about five minutes or so. The reason why I called back with her on the line was because she heard one thing, and then I had to call back and confirm it, and it wasn't the same. So sometimes clients will give us inaccurate information, and it's not their fault. Sometimes they just don't understand the process. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand some of the jargon. But just think about just how difficult it is if you have to wait so long, right? Last year, they reported that the IRS only answers about 11% of their calls. Last year, they got over 200 million phone calls. They don't have enough people in their call centers even answers the phone. So it's like 1 out of 11. 1 out of every 11 phone call gets answered or something like that. Matter of fact, I need to fact check myself because I believe those numbers are higher. Because I'm going off memory right now. I want to say 1 out of 100 might have not got answered. But here in this article, it states getting through to the IRS has been a major hurdle this tax season. Still, this year, the agency is already contending with a backlog of matters related to 23 million returns and is understaffed. All right, let's see here. One day, which is estimated that 25% of the time he will get through to someone on the hotline for tax professionals, but only after waiting an hour or more. Told y'all. All right, so here's another point. Gaines said she has a client who was told by the IRS that she owed $10,000 because she had not paid taxes on her pension, except that she did. The client couldn't get through to anyone to address the problem. Now, Gaines said we don't want to file her 2021 taxes yet because she has a refund coming, and they'll probably take it to pay what she doesn't owe. So anytime you have a return or you have a tax refund and the IRS estimates that you owe money, they will not pay that refund to you. They take that refund, they apply it to your past due balance, and they just keep it going. No explanation, no nothing. All right. Now, last part of this, taxpayers bear the brunt of frustration. Yes, we do. The added frustrations of this tax season mean more clients are barking at the messenger. So they're barking at people like me. We're getting squeezed between the clients and the IRS. That is correct. Now, Robin Ray Huntley, an enrolled agent in Florida, said that sum things up more bluntly. In early February, she said, I filed 59 returns, and I've been yelled at by 50 of those clients. So, yeah, it's rough out here on these tax streets, y'all. It's rough out on these tax streets. And I want to just take a moment to give a little more clarity. When you go to a tax preparer, whether it be an enrolled agent such as myself, a certified public accountant, or a tax attorney, because all of those people are recognized with the IRS as being tax professionals. We prepare the returns, we submit the returns, or mail them in. I don't advise anybody to mail anything to the IRS right now, though. But we get the returns to the IRS. The IRS then lets us know that they got them via an acknowledgement, and then it's out of our hands. There's nothing we can do about it. It's now been passed off to the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, for them to process the tax return. Because just because you get an acknowledgement does not mean that you have been processed or the returns have been processed. They've not. So you have to keep that all in mind, that once it's out of the tax pro's hand, they have nothing to do with it. All you have to do now is rely on the IRS to process it, get it through, and issue a return, or start sending you letters for your payment to be sent to them as soon as possible. So keep that in mind, y'all. Keep that in mind. A lot of people miss out on that. A lot of people don't think about that at all. So it can be very, very frustrating. All right. So last article of the night. And this young lady right now is defying all the odds. She's defying all the odds because she's like, listen, I'm pregnant and I'm still killing the game. Doesn't matter what y'all think, I'm still killing the game. And so y'all know who I'm talking about. No other than the spectacular Rihanna. So Rihanna, it's been said that Rihanna's lingerie company, Fenty X, I'm sure a lot of y'all know about it, weighs in the IPO at $3 billion. It has a $3 billion valuation. So it's saying Fenty X is worth $3 billion. Now, it's been reported that Rihanna is already a billionaire. So if she's able to do an IPO, initial public offering, that's what IPO stands for, that'll add even more zeros to her balance sheet, to her bottom line. So this young lady is definitely getting it. Now, let's see here. There's nothing confirmed yet, right? This is all rumors. So this article states, singer turned fashion entrepreneur Rihanna is working with advisors on an initial public offering that could value her Savage X Fenty lingerie company at $3 billion or more, according to people familiar with the deal. Savage X Fenty is working with banks including Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and sounds like a few others, said the people, who asked not to be identified. So when they ask not to be identified, you know it's on the hush. It's on the major hush. But they want to get it out there to get a little bit of buzz. All right, so Savage X Fenty hasn't made a final decision on a IPO, and its plans, including the timing, could still change, the people said. Now, I know why they're thinking about an IPO now, because money is still plentiful in the stock market. So it would be a great time to raise money. It would be an absolute great time to raise money. All right, the company raised $125 million in January in a funding round led by Nuremberg Berman, with participation from previous investors, L. Catering, Avion Growth Capital, Sunley House Capital Management, Jay-Z's Marcy Venture Partners, according to providers at PitchBook. So again, y'all keep a lookout on Rihanna. She's doing the thing. She is doing the thing. And so as we wrap up tonight, we always have to leave with our affirmation of the day. And I'm not going to do anything super fancy today because I'm way behind on taxes. So I got to get back to it. But today's affirmation is, I'm a money magnet. And so again, with affirmations, you always want to say them, feel them, repeat them. So again, I'm going to say, I am a money magnet. I am a money magnet. I am a money magnet, right? So I'm a money magnet for myself, but also for my clients and my loved ones as well. So again, affirmations, really, really important. You want to keep them on the tips of your tongue. You want to keep positivity flowing through you at all times, because we have so much negativity around us. It's always good to put a good word out into the universe. All right. So today we covered our rundown. We covered our Ukraine-Russia war update. We covered inflation. Again, inflation is up 7.9%. It'll probably peak at some point, but who knows when it's going to stop. Hopefully it stops sooner than later because, that lady going to the market with her kids is going to get priced out. And that's not a great look when it's all said and done. All right. Why is taxes so frustrating? Well, taxes are frustrating because the IRS is still backed up, understaffed, undermanned, and they got a whole new tax laws that everybody has to contend with. All right. And Rihanna looks to potentially, possibly, fingers crossed, to be taking Fenty X public, maybe for $3 billion. All right, y'all. So thank you all for being here. I'm always humbled that you're here. Always humbled that you share your presence with me. Y'all continue to be great, be loved, and continue to always seek the light. I'll see y'all tomorrow for our daily number later on. Bye-bye.